everybody. I wanted to go over a quick couple things that I've seen as I'm going through my studies for the CCIE lab. Well, for the written anyway. A couple of things that I've come across is when you're going through the security and the QoS section, it's almost um, it's not necessary for the entire section to know all about CCNA security in the CCIE route and switch lab, but I would recommend it. Why do I say that? Because you're going to cover more than 3/4 of the topics in CCNA security. The things that you won't deal with are going to be like the ASA and the PIX firewall and setting up a VPN for the security section. In the MPLS section, most of what you're going to deal with MPLS is going to be a VPN. So I would definitely say um, the topics, not the certification. If you have the ability to buy the book or watch some sort of video training, instructor training on CCNA security and voice, I would definitely do that. I'm going to as well. So I'll go through security, then I'll go through voice just to kind of filter in some of the things. Now I'm using Internet Network Expert. They talk security-wise. The guy giving the teaching the class, leading the class, he's a CCIE security. So security he's stronger in. Now he's got a CCIE service provider, so he's going to know a lot about service provider as well. So for the most part, I would recommend security, and for QoS is knowing the CCNA voice and security topics. You don't have to go out and grab the cert, but at least just know what they are, because that'll help you out. Now, for the major sections, you have to know the core. Core is going to be your if you don't know core topics, that is going to be your downfall, because 55 to 65% of the lab is core topics. Advanced features and extra things like shaping and policing and other things that kind of come into play. Advanced topics. So you really don't. You're not going to need to know. Well, you should at least know what they are, and get in the habit of using the documentation online. Get online, do some documentation research, figure out where things are, and go from there. That's the best advice I can give to you. I am hardcore studying for it. I'm still got 3 classes I'm doing for school full time, and I'm also doing CCIE route and switch study. So I'm going through each section. As I'm going through a section, video-wise, I'm also reading TCP/IP Volume 1 for the actual, the architecture behind it. Make sure I understand EIGRP, OSPF, BGP at a fundamental level. Because if you don't understand it at a fundamental level, you're not going to know it's broke if something's not working. Also, you won't know when they're setting things up where you're at, because they might have some sort of setting up to where they might have a peer group instead of the same autonomous system. So when you're doing your IBGP peering, instead of having to type in 6 different commands, you only type in 1. You follow what I'm saying? So for those of you that think you can skate by and just kind of know some things, it's not going to work. Have I taken the lab? No, but I'm going based on what I've heard from people that I know that have CCIEs and what they've said. So I just wanted to shoot a quick video on what I would recommend. I've got all the documentation I need right now, so it's just a matter of filtering through the material. Making sure I know how to set this stuff up. Because when I go through the labs, I want to be able to go, okay, that if it takes me 2 days to do a lab, that's fine. The idea is to be able to get quality comes with time. So your employer, when you're brand new, can't expect you to do the job as fast as somebody that's been there for 5 or 10 years. Has been doing the same job over and over again. They're used to seeing it. They know what they're looking for. They know what they're doing. You have to start slow. Make sure you get the core content down. If you get the core content, then it's just a matter of you'll eventually doing the same thing over and over again. Setting up OSPF on an interface is really simple. It's when you get into setting up the port cost and making sure you can start getting into path selection with setting the priority on this and making sure you can get the certain router to make the DR and make another one to the BDR and stuff like that, and then setting up your virtual links and things of that nature. These things will come with time. Definitely have at least a CCNP level of understanding. If you can look at it and be like, okay, well, that over NBMA networks that you set the spokes to a priority of 0 so they don't become a DR or a BDR, then you're going to be okay. Because you want your hub router to be the DR. And you want it to be sending out multicast updates to the spokes. It's basic concepts here. Just like I said, know the content. Start at a certain level and start building. And once you've gone through all the material, then you can start taking what you know and adding. Start labbing. Get your labs done. Get to a certain point to where you know that a lab that's not quite as hard as the lab in real life, and then once you've gotten to that point where you can configure it without having to reference something, you're good to move on to the next level. Build yourself to a certain point and then start adding in extra things. And if you're like, you don't remember how to police something specifically using DSCP and class-based way to fair queuing, that you can go back through and go, okay, well, I know that if I need to give it priority over this traffic, I need to set it to a class of 5, where other traffic needs to be set to a class of 3. So these are just different weights you can give traffic based on, like an N bar. You can put N bar out there and see what traffic is being used, and you can classify the traffic to where your SQL Server traffic is getting for priority over your web traffic, stuff like that. So just knowing your knowing what you need to know and all the advanced features. I'm not saying not know your advanced features. You're definitely going to want to know them because that might ding you down the road. So definitely know pretty much everything you're going to need to know and lab it. Make sure you can throw everything together in a lab. And the idea isn't to be able to just start configuring everything. You're not going to go in and configure every possible feature set that's in the iOS or OSPF. I mean, you could, and then do the same thing with EIGRP, do the same thing with BGP. Now, I haven't touched MPLS, so I'm not going to even go there, but I know when you're going through, route redistribution, there's things that pop up, and setting tags and metrics, and, making sure that, an OSPF, you can set it when it goes into EIGRP to where you can set where the type E2, where it doesn't increment through the network, where it stays the same cost link to link, so stuff like that. But that's all I wanted to do was go through and explain that. Like I said, make sure you have a fundamental understanding at the CCNA, the CCNP, and the CCIE level, and make sure you know the stuff, because if there's an opportunity for them to catch you on something, that's what they're going to do. So, that's all I really wanted to cover, and short video. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.